Hello, my name is Yahira Garcia, and welcome to the Coping with Stress and Anxiety workshop. I'm going to be presenting this material to you, so thanks for being here. So getting started, I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit of what the difference between anxiety and stress is. Stress is actually caused by existing, stress causing factors or a stressor. And stress is the way our body and our minds react to something that upsets like our normal balance. And stress is probably easier to be understood if it's like a response to a threat. Now, anxiety, on the other hand, is stress that continues after the stressors are gone. So anxiety is, our feelings of unease or fear, and often includes the feeling of impending doom. I don't know about you, but for me, it's kind of like really hard to describe what anxiety is. It's definitely more of a feeling for me, but I think, describing it as a feeling of unease is really just hits the nail on the head. And anxiety is normal, but it is considered abnormal when it's like very prolonged or severe. It happens in the absence of a stressful event, or it starts to interfere with your everyday life and activities such as, going to work or, going through school. So, a way, to maybe conceptualize anxiety a little better is anxiety is a reaction to the stress. Now, I want you to think for a second about what makes you anxious. This could be, different factors. This may be, maybe a simple explanation as to, what people think it is. Just, your social life, your good grades, enough sleep, one of these, not getting one of these, or, a couple of these may contribute to anxiety. But this might be maybe a more accurate representation. Well, there are so many different factors in our everyday life that contribute to, feelings of anxiety and stress. Now, occasional anxiety, like I mentioned before, is, part of everyday life. But there are also times when anxiety is more than just a temporary worry or fear. And on the screen, there are just a few examples of anxiety disorders. And people with, these kinds of disorders, the anxiety does not go away as easily, and it actually can get worse over time. And so people, with generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, OCD, maybe social anxiety, phobias, and PTSD, people with certain disorders, their symptoms can interfere with their daily activities, such as, their job performance, their schoolwork, their relationships. So just, an idea that anxiety can, be much more severe and get to a point where it is considered an anxiety disorder. Now, here is a graph, which is one of my favorite, maybe psychoeducational graphs ever. And I like this graph because it shows you how stress can affect our performance. On your left in the green section, the stress levels are low, but so is performance. And when our stress levels are low, we are less productive, So it kind of makes sense to thinking that like moderate levels of stress are motivating because you could see, as our stress level increases up the bell curve, we have a healthy tension, we are motivated, we're focused, we have something to propel us to, perform to the best of our ability. Now, on the other end of the curve on the right, it starts getting into the red. And this is where we approach burnout. This is, when our levels of stress are so high that our ability to cope has been exceeded and we are just far less productive. And the goal, and part of these workshops and you being here and watching this video is to increase, our resiliency so that we can handle challenging situations without burning out. And it's helpful to know, when you're feeling burnt out, you're approaching, more into the red so that we can practice our coping skills or identify mechanisms that, prevent us from burning out. So that kind of poses the question of, how do you know when you are too stressed or too anxious? think about that for a quick second. What comes up for you? What do you feel in your body, in your head, emotions? Think about how you know when you're just too stressed or anxious. Well, if you have felt stress or anxiety at some point, it's pretty normal. As I mentioned, it's pretty common. And it's actually a physiological reaction that occurs in response to, a perceived harmful event, an attack, or, it's a threat of survival. So a lot of us know this as the fight or flight response. And oftentimes, when we're feeling threatened or anxious or stressed out, it can have an effect on our bodies without us really knowing it first, like in our heads. Um, and some common ways in which, our stress and anxiety can maybe be like psychosomatic is we realize that our heart rate starts, elevating. We may be feeling dizziness, eye strain, maybe a stomach ache. Um, our thoughts may be racing. Like these are things that can happen before us realizing, like, oh my gosh, this is a reaction to stress. So, in thinking about this, like, again, how does your stress manifest? Here are some signs and symptoms, common ways in which um, symptoms of stress and anxiety can manifest. If there's physical symptoms, some of which I alluded to, your stomach aches, your eye strain, sweaty palms, even sleep problems. There's, emotional signs and symptoms, being maybe afraid or feeling anxious, the tension that comes with that, feeling hostile or irritable. Like these are common, again, signs and symptoms. Actions, maybe exaggerating our normal behaviors or withdrawing from our social support network, maybe working harder but not really getting anything done. And also thoughts, just negatively ruminating, or thinking catastrophic thoughts of like, this is horrible, this is unbearable, or thinking about school, like, I'm going to flunk, I'm not going to succeed. Again, just thinking, not knowing, um, some people not really knowing to what point their stress is so overwhelming that they don't know what to do with it. So identifying these things of just like, oh, I constantly feel like I have a stomach ache around exams, it's like that's probably a sign that you're stressed out, or feeling just more tense or irritable towards your friends or family members, like that could be another sign. Like if you have never really put much thought into it, like I challenge you or encourage you to think about maybe patterns you have noticed in the past regarding, more stressful periods in your life, maybe around like finals week or midterms or things like that. Now, there's different kinds of stress and they take on very many different forms. And these aren't the end all be all, but I think these four broad categories are helpful in kind of parsing out what kind of ways in which stress can manifest or fall under. There's time stress, anticipatory stress, situational stress, and encounter stress. So, in thinking of maybe time stress as something that impacts you a little more, you maybe worry about time or lack of time. You fear that maybe you're not able to complete something in, a timely manner. And you can have feelings of like hopelessness, like nervous, unhappiness. An example of a time stress is worrying that you won't be able to meet deadlines, or you're trying to, you rush in the morning in order to avoid being late for a meeting or a class or something. There's also anticipatory stress, and this is, stress concerning the future or a future event. And a lot of this can maybe be compiled of like worrying that something will go wrong. Um, an example of this could look like a student being afraid that they're going to fail their final test, during their finals. Something helpful with this kind of stress is like working on your confidence and positive self talk in order to kind of target your self doubt and kind of give yourself more power, remind yourself of your strengths and times when you were able to succeed in the past. And then the next type of stress is situational stress. And this is being in a situation where you don't really have control over what is going on. And this could be, an event such as an emergency or even a conflict. And this could be, maybe two people getting in, an argument in our residence hall. I don't really know how common that is, but I'm pretty sure, that could be, a stressful event of just like, what is happening? I didn't know this was going to happen. Like, how do I control it? And managing your emotions in a situation such as an emergency or conflict could be helpful in this instance. And the last kind of stress on here is just a counter stress. And this could be, perceived as two different ways. One could be, worrying about interacting with people. So, kind of like the idea of being, having social anxiety. The other could be worrying about people who have prolonged interactions with people who are in distress. And an example of this particular encounter stress could be, someone who may be working for a crisis line. There's a consistent interactions with people who work, people who are in distress, and that in and of itself is a stressful situation to be in. Now, imagining, having to go to that like day after day after day after day could be very stressful. Now, in the next few slides, I'm going to just talk about some tips and tricks for addressing these broad categories of stress. But first, I want you to maybe take out your phone or open up a blank Word document or, take out a piece of paper. And I want you to write at least a list of 5 things. And 5 things that you can do over the next few weeks. And these could be, directed towards managing your stress, completing tasks, or, preparation for your future, whatever it may be. Like, just write 3 things that you can work on and reflect on these items on your list. And I encourage you before we go on to the next slides to just pause this where we are right now and write your 5 things, and then just hit play and we'll keep going on with the workshop. All right, so hopefully, you wrote 5 things that you can work on in the next few weeks that can maybe motivate you or kind of help reduce your stress and, engage in some kind of self-care. Now, I'm going to walk through a few different strategies that can help you with a different variety of stresses. The first is time management. And if you're currently, a student or you have a lot of, things on your plate, we want to make sure that you're devoting enough time to your important priorities. It's really easy to get caught up on like seemingly urgent tasks, which actually have little impact on your overall objectives. So again, like this may be like procrastinating on things that you actually need to get done. You focus on like the little things instead of focusing on like the bigger ticket items. Now, not being able to properly manage your time can leave you with, feelings of being exhausted or feeling that you worked a full day, but really didn't accomplish many meaningful things. If you often feel like you don't have enough time to complete your tasks, learn how to create more time in the day. And this might mean, coming in early or working late so that you have a quiet time to focus. Another thing you could do is identifying when you are the most like motivated and the most productive. If you identify which time period is more productive for you, you can be using your time more efficiently, and this helps you do more with your time. An example of this could be, realizing that I write better in the morning than I do in the evening. And that's something that, throughout my undergraduate career and then transitioning into a graduate career, definitely switched for me. I used to be more efficient in doing my homework and writing specifically in the evening, but as a graduate student, these past few years, I have realized that I'm much more efficient in writing from, the periods of 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So now if I have that, chunk of time, I try to put in my own writing sessions during that time because I know it's when I'll be the most efficient. The next It's a pretty basic strategy, but it's oh so important. And that's, making a to-do list. You can make a to-do list, in the beginning of each term, each month, each week, each day, to help you be accountable. There's different strategies in, dealing with to-do lists. You could just write everything out and just, go them by list. You can also label your to-do lists or, color code them in with a specific color or a specific letter or a specific number, like maybe A or one or, pink being the most important, and then B or two or blue, being important, but something I could, put off for a little bit. And then C, maybe not being time sensitive. C, could be something that's not as time sensitive so that you could categorize, your to-do list and like, okay, I need to get this done first, like this maybe later. And if I have time, like going for these lower ticket items. And it's also important that, these tasks will help you reach your goals and working on them, will make you feel more productive. And this, making a to do list really helps with time stress and anticipatory stress. If you feel like that's something that really triggers you and makes you really just anxious, like try and get um, on top of your tasks by writing them down and knowing what you have to work for. And again, this could be you doing it on a piece of paper. You could use, the to-do lists app on your phone. You can have a planner. You can have sticky notes. I personally use a combination of all of these because I find them very helpful. And next, this is a strategy that might make some people feel uncomfortable. And I just want to go ahead and acknowledge that. And that's, assertiveness and boundaries. Practice saying no to opportunities. I know it's easier said than done, especially, when many people have, amazing opportunities like presented to them at various different points of, their life. And from my experience, it's very easy to want to say yes to everything. But, try to say no, set up boundaries, and practice saying like no to things and only saying yes to opportunities or tasks or projects that are really important to you. You have to be realistic about what you can and can't do. And speaking from experience, it's easy to take on too much, which is something you don't want to do. Like, don't take up on too much. Part of being a leader, part of being a professional, part of, I think growing up is ensuring that you're not put in a place where you're over promising and under delivering. So I encourage you to identify what boundaries you have, what are non-negotiables, what is something that, you want to keep for yourself, whether it be, self-care time, whether it be, an evening off, whether it be a weekend off, and like try to set those boundaries and practice saying no to things so that you can, be less stressed out so that you can take time to, do things that are fulfilling to you. And now for strategy number four, it's also a very, an oldie but a goodie and very straightforward, but it's just deep breathing. I can't tell you, the amount of times when I've needed to just like take a moment and just take deep breaths because I felt very overwhelmed. And this has been, in person as I'm like dealing with, something out in the world or during remote learning times like during classes when I may be feeling overwhelmed, just shutting off my camera and taking deep breaths to like regulate myself and know that I'm can be at ease during a stressful moment. This is really a great tool, and the other strategies which we talked about before were more preventative, and this strategy is more in the moment and like helps tackle the stress as it's happening. And deep breathing allows you to slow down, to give pause, and kind of communicate with your body that it's really not in harm's way. And so there's very many different breathing strategies that you could utilize. The one on the screen is a 7-Eleven strategy. And it's basically you just, finding a space, sit up straight, close your eyes if you feel comfortable, inhaling to the count of 7 and exhaling to the count of 11. and just doing the like 3 of these deep relaxing breaths um, can be helpful, when you're encountering a stressful like situation, or you're maybe dealing with heightened emotions, either, your own emotions or someone else's. And then on the screen are just some general self-care activities that reduce stress. It's doing pleasurable activities, whether, it be by yourself, like watching TV or reading, or doing things with others, taking care of your body, like very basic things like drinking water. When was the last time you drank a glass of water or had a piece of fruit? Did you get adequate sleep last night? Time management, as we discussed, like maybe making to do lists, not taking on too much, knowing your limits, exercising, go out on a walk if it's outside and beautiful after watching this video. Relaxation, whatever that may be, that could be again reading or going to church, or maybe getting a massage. Next is, talking to others when you're feeling really stressed out. This is could be, like your own social support network, like your family, your friends, your partners, or even, a therapist or a counselor. Like, I cannot recommend that enough. So again, just general stress relieving activities. And if you feel like you need more support, I highly encourage you to go to university counseling services to identify things that could be helpful to you if you are an enrolled student. We offer consultations, short-term individual therapy and telehealth, group therapy, community and campus referrals, education prevention outreach, which is what you're currently doing now by watching this video. And we also have the Collegiate Recovery Center, which is for students who may be going through substance abuse and um, things like that. So with that, I encourage you to contact us. Our phone number is 541-346-3227. After hours, we are a crisis support line, so someone will also always be available to talk to you if you need any help. You could also go to counseling.uoregon.edu for more information regarding like some of the services I just described. And if you have any questions, you can contact me at uccoutreachde@uoregon.edu. Thank you.